We're within a day of our upcoming winter storm. Things have become more clear. Some of you are going to be happy, others not as much. Let's talk about it in this afternoon edition of the Texas Weather Roundup. All right, good afternoon. I'm Texas Storm Chasers Baldy-in-Chief David Reimer. It is coming up to about 4 p.m. Central Time on Tuesday, the 8th of January, 2025. We now have a plethora of winter storm warnings and winter weather/travelers advisories in effect for the state. We'll go ahead and show that here. Ignore the little blank area over the Permian Basin. I really have no idea why that's there, but we'll just pretend it's filled in with a lovely shade of purple as well, because I can. We've got winter weather travelers advisories going into effect this evening. The borderland around El Paso, the Big Bend region, the Davis Mounds, up into the Guadalupe Mounds, the Trans-Pecos. Everyone else on this map, we're generally going to be looking at a Thursday morning to Friday morning time frame. That means the Panhandle, West Texas, the Permian Basin, Northwest Texas, the Big Country, the Concho Valley, the Northern Edwards Plateau, parts of the Hill Country west of Interstate 35, southern North Texas, and a sliver of East Texas under the Travelers Advisory. This is going to be for pockets of light winter weather accumulations, whether it be a bit of freezing rain and freezing drizzle with sleet Thursday morning through late Thursday morning, or snow. In the Panhandle and West Texas case, a bit tonight, and then a bit again Thursday evening. For the Hill Country, southern North Texas, the Big Country, the Concho Valley, we could have two waves. One Thursday morning with a mix of rain, sleet, freezing rain, and snow, and then we're going to have another round of snow move through Thursday evening. We're going to talk about all this in greater detail in a moment. And then we have the pink shading of doom and gloom. That includes the DFW Metroplex, North Texas, generally along and north of Interstate 20, east of a line from Weatherford to Decatur to Gainesville, east through the DFW Metroplex, through Sherman, Paris, Tyler, Longview, Marshall, up into Texarkana, Clarksville. This is where, Mount Pleasant, Mount Vernon, Greenville. This is where we are expecting the highest snow accumulations tomorrow into tomorrow night and Friday morning, with the potential for some locations to receive over 4 to 5 inches of snow. All right, let's talk about it. We're going to go into a more detailed timeline here. So for those of you just wondering what the expectations are, well, the good news is we'll have an animation where all this will play through here at the end. But let's start off with this evening, 7 p.m. You can see we're starting to see some convective-like elements here on the Trans-Pecos. Could be a mix of sleet, freezing rain, and snow. If temperatures are below freezing, this is going to cause roads to go to slicker in a handbasket faster than my hairline went adios homas Peter saying goodbye. As we go into the evening hours, you can see 11 p.m. Central Time, 10 p.m. Mountain Time, we have snow showers. The Guadalupe Mounds, Trans-Pecos, east of El Paso at this point. As we go to 3 a.m. Central, 2 a.m. Mountain, you can see we have scattered showers with convective-like elements. Could have some freezing rain, sleet, and snow mixed in. West Texas, Trans-Pecos, Big Bend, and we're starting to see some activity develop in the Hill Country. Now, Hill Country, if you're under 32 degrees Fahrenheit when this hits, this is going to ice y'all up fast, all right? Bridges, overpasses especially. Now, here's 6 a.m. Thursday. Notice we have sleet showers moving into the DFW Metroplex. Now, to be perfectly honest with y'all, we're going to have to see exactly what this falls as. This may fall initially as a round of freezing rain and sleet. If that happens, this is going to turn things into skating rinks pretty quick here in parts of the Big Country, the Concho Valley, North Texas. You could even see a bit of sleet trying to mix in Central Texas. If we're above 32 degrees Fahrenheit, we're not going to get ice. Snow, if snow falls heavy enough, yeah, it may stick. But if we're talking freezing rain and sleet, 32 degrees and lower, we're going to have proms. That's a possibility here. We'll talk about that more. You could also see some snow, West Texas, Northwest Texas. Here's 8 a.m. You can see we've got snow falling. The Panhandle, West Texas, Big Country, Northwest Texas. We have a winter mix of sorts in the DFW Metroplex down into the Concho Valley, even northern parts of the Hill Country. If this is right, San Antonio, Austin, above freezing, it's raining. McAllen, Brownsville, Corpus Christi, Houston, Bryan College Station, rain. Above freezing, no problem. DFW, again, we're going to be flirting with 32 degrees. If it's 32 or below, we're going to have ice with this. If it's 32 or 33 and above, it's not going to ice. Now, if we have snow out of this, and we'll talk more about that, we're most likely going to have snow later in the day, it could stick anyway if it falls heavy enough. Now, here is 10 a.m. Notice we're transitioning over to what this model thinks is heavy, wet snow. North Texas, the big country, northwest Texas, Texoma, with snow still back in the panhandle West Texas. I'll tell you now, if this activity here in North Texas is falling as a wet, heavy snow, even if it's 33, 34, 35 degrees, it's going to stick. It's going to melt eventually, but it's going to be falling more quickly than it can melt. So that's going to cause some problems, slush especially. If it's 32 degrees and below, well, it's going to stick and it's going to stay there, regardless of melting properties. You could see maybe some sleet mixed in with rain in the hill country. Hill country should be above freezing at this point. Same thing for Austin, Central Texas, Edwards Plateau, South Central Texas, San Antonio, Southeast Texas, down into South Texas. You're not getting winter issues out of this. Snow falling West Texas Panhandle. Y'all are going to be below freezing most likely, with snow accumulating and becoming road snowpacked. Now, notice here's new. Rain snow line for all intent and purposes. Kind of near Interstate 20. You could see right like that. Now, we're not going to get too nitpicky on exactly where the rain snow line is here. A couple things we are going to watch for. Surface temperatures. Most data has surface temperatures in these regions at 32 to 34 degrees Fahrenheit, just above freezing. You might be asking, well, Baldy, if it's above 32, why is it snowing? Because the temperatures aloft are super cold, allowing those snowflakes to literally make it right down to the surface, because the freezing layer goes literally maybe a couple hundred feet above the surface. So that's how they're able to make it down to the ground intact, even if it's above 33, 34 degrees. They just don't have time to melt. And these are going to be some pretty big snowflakes. Now, if we're at 33, 34, a lot of this is going to melt as it hits the ground, but not all of it. If it's falling heavy enough, and we've seen this before, February 2010's one example in DFW, the snow is going to pile up because it's just not going to be able to melt quickly enough. So if that happens, yeah, we're going to have problems even if it's 33, 34. I think folks or school districts canceling in DFW tomorrow was a good idea based on this. There's the potential for some issues. West Texas, if y'all are below freezing, same story. Now notice down here, this model showing a bit of sleet. Yeah, we might have some sleet pellets or ice pellets mixed in with the rain. Maybe even some snow at times. Hill country, Central Texas. But temperatures should be 34, 35 degrees, in which case, you'd have to be in really pure, heavy, wet snow for it to actually stick. So most of this down here, south of this line, should just be melting late tomorrow morning through the early afternoon. Now, as we transition into the early afternoon, here's 2 o'clock. You can see it's still snowing. Northeast Texas, rain snow line bisecting DFW. We may switch over to snow in parts of Tarrant, Dallas counties for a while. Change over to rain for a little while with snow still northern DFW, northwest Texas. All this stuff out here, this is all very heavy, wet snow being indicated. These are these huge snowflakes. There may even be some thunder snow, truthfully, coming out of this. We may even see a bit of rain-snow mix, maybe some sleet mixing in down here, East Texas, Central Texas, the hill country, just because we have very cold air aloft. But if temperatures at the surface are above freezing, especially closer to 34, 35, unless you have really heavy wet snow, it's not going to stick and stay down. Now, let's keep going. Here's 5 o'clock. Now, here's where things start to get a little more interesting, and this is a newer element to the forecast we weren't talking about much yesterday afternoon. Rain-snow line begins moving south again. This is as the storm system down here in the Gulf, right there, starts to move east-northeast. That is going to allow colder air to get drawn in the low to mid-levels of the atmosphere behind it, allowing the essentially rain to change back over to snow. And with that, it'll be a heavy wet snow. Temperatures at the surface may still be above freezing, or they may not. They may be near or just below freezing. Regardless, this snow should be heavy enough to stick. Now, if it's above freezing, it's not going to all stick, but it's going to be falling heavy enough to where it's not going to be able to melt instantly. Now, let's keep going. You can see here's 8 o'clock. Heavy snow falling in DFW, Sherman, Paris, northeast Texas. Still snow showers. Panhandle, northwest Texas, up into Oklahoma. You can see it's snowing heavily in Texarkana. Notice how 10 p.m. tomorrow, that rain snow line's moving southeast as that colder air filters in on the backside of the storm system. So the rain snow line's moving back into the hill country, back into Waco, towards Tyler, Texarkana. You can see we still have heavy snow in DFW, Texoma, northeast Texas. Heavy rain down here in southeast Texas, the Golden Triangle, south central Texas, the Brazos Valley. And again, there may be some snowflakes and ice pellets that mix in down here. but they wouldn't accumulate because temperatures will be too warm. We also note some actual strong thunderstorms here right off the Texas coast in the Gulf. We're going to have temperatures near 60 right on the Gulf Coast here as some of the warmer air tries to advect inland ahead of the surface low pressure. So we are actually going to need to watch the Golden Triangle just a little bit tomorrow evening for some stronger thunderstorm potential. Don't you love complex storm systems in Texas? Now here is midnight. You can see, guess what? Rain snow line. Kind of getting near Austin, right? Hill country. It's down through Waco, Tyler, Texarkana. Line of nasty storms in the Gulf of Mexico, almost to Beaumont. Notice it's pouring rain. Southeastern half of the state with snow still falling. Texarkana, Sherman, DFW, Waco, just northwest of Austin, San Antonio. And again, this could be accumulating snow. Temperatures at the surface are going to be near or maybe still just above freezing. Now, when I say 1 to 2 degrees makes a big difference here, it does. If we're dealing with temperatures that make it, 30, 31, 32 versus, 33, 34, 35, the snow totals are going to go way up because most of this is expected to be melting as it falls. Now, here is 3 a.m. Friday. Notice heavy snow exiting DFW. We still actually have some snow squall activity back here in northwest Texas, the big country, the Concho Valley, the Permian Basin. This is where literally you have a quick line of snow move in. That quickly reduces visibility. Maybe gusty winds, or may even be a little bit of lightning with it, honestly, and a quick snow accumulation. Meanwhile, snow is exiting DFW to the east, but the damage is done. By tomorrow night, most of the DFW Metroplex should be painted in a couple inches of snow at least. Now, here is 5 a.m. Snow still in the Arklatex, but the system itself is departing. Heaviest rains exiting Texas to the east. And we still have a few snow showers back southwest, big country, Concho Valley, into the northern Edwards Plateau. Here's 7 a.m. You can see the last of the snow moving out of northeast Texas, and then we're done with much colder air filtering in behind this system for what it's worth. So temperatures are going to fall during the day Friday, and we're all getting below freezing Friday night unless you're in like McAllen, Brownsville. The only folks not getting below freezing Friday night will be down here in the Rio Grande Valley, deep south Texas. Everyone else is below freezing, teens, 20s, which means any water, melted snow, etc. on roads, sidewalks, will freeze up by, if not just after sunset Friday. So we're probably going to see some road improvements Friday afternoon after the snow moves out, maybe some sunshine, but it's going to melt. And then it's going to freeze right back up as we fall into the teens and 20s. So keep that in mind. We may have some deterioration of road conditions Friday night, wherever we still have melted snow or snow, along with wet roads. Okay, so let me go ahead. I'll switch you over to what I promised, the actual animated loop here. Here's the high-res rapid refresh model. So here's the afternoon run of the high-res rapid refresh model. Same thing I just showed you, except it's playing in a loop. You can see it's going to be a pretty messy Thursday and Friday, northern half of the state. Just don't nitpick exactly where the rain freezing line is, because we'll see where it is tomorrow. Again, 1 to 2 degrees is going to make a big difference here, whether or not the rain snow line sits in like Waco or Hillsborough all day, or it's sitting on I-30 in DFW. Vice versa, the same principle applies farther west and east. Notice, though, a change from our prior forecasts is the rain snow line is going to move back southeast Thursday night into Friday morning before the precipitation ends, because we're going to have more moisture to work with. If you were watching yesterday or the day before, I was talking about a piece of upper level energy coming out of the northern United States. Well, yesterday it looked like that wasn't going to really do much for us, which is why snow chances diminished. Well, now it does look like it's going to actually play around. So now we are expecting additional winter precipitation, more snow over a longer period, which is why things have gone up a bit. And otherwise, it's going to be a good rain event for the eastern half of the state, eastern 2/3 of the state. I mean, once all the snow melts and, all the rain, we could be talking 1 to 4 inches of rain. Great for January, right? So here is what we're looking at. First, I do want to mention ice. With that winter mix, freezing drizzle, freezing rain, sleet, we could see some ice accumulations. The Big Bend, the Permian Basin, the Concho Valley, now including the hill country. I want to emphasize here, this map probably needs a little more yellow in the hill country, just northwest of San Antonio, just west of Austin, Georgetown, New Braunfels, there is the potential for ice in the hill country Thursday morning into early Thursday afternoon. It may only be a few hundredths of an inch, but that would be all it takes to turn things into skating rinks. Same thing applies. Southwestern North Texas, southern DFW Metroplex, into northeast Texas, where we could see up to 1/10 of an inch of freezing rain accumulations. And that would turn things into skating rinks real quick, starting with the bridges, overpasses, elevated roads, but surface roads too, and then snow on top of it. So keep that in mind. And for what it's worth, again, if temperatures are a degree or two colder than expected, these are going to get expanded and they're going to go up. And we're going to have more travel issues. So here's the latest snow forecast. We're still expecting between about 1 inch to 3 inches. El Paso, Davis, Guadalupe Mountains, and Trans-Pecos, about 1 inch or snow or less. Most of the Permian Basin, the Concho Valley. West Texas, southern parts of West Texas, we're looking at about 1 inch of snow, 1 to 3 inches of snow, maybe locally higher on the Cap Rock in West Texas, the Panhandle. And maybe someone getting 4 inches if you're lucky. Northwest Texas, I mean, you can kind of see that little snow hole here between Childress, Quanah, Vernon, down towards Snyder, Abilene. We'll see. Maybe we can fill that in future forecasts. But again, out here, western half of the state, generally 1 to 3 inches of snow, with most folks seeing under 1 inch. Now, here's North Texas, and this is where things have increased a bit. And depending on future data, this may be a bit conservative. But we're now expecting there's still going to be a sharp gradient. South edge of this, there's going to be a sharp gradient, and so someone's going to be mad, someone's going to be overjoyed. That's the gist of it. But 1 to 3 inches of snow, western North Texas, Wichita Falls, Breckenridge, Mineral Wells, Weatherford, 1 to 3 inches of snow. Abilene, under 1 inch probably, or thereabouts. Fort Worth, right now, 2 to 4 inches. Dallas, 2 to 4 inches. Terrell to Canton, 1/2 inch to 2 inches of snow. Technically, this for Tyler doesn't have snow, but again, we may need to expand this south. For what it's worth, by the time we go just north, 20, 30 miles, Decatur, Denton, McKinney, 2 to 5 inches of snow, and it could be higher if you end up under a band. Bowie, Gainesville, Sherman, Bonham, Paris, Clarksville, 3 to 6 inches of snow. Can't rule out someone getting 7 or 8, especially closer to Paris and Hugo. But again, it's all going to depend where we see this heavy mesoscale small span of heaviest snow. And that typically is right on the transition point from where you go from rain to snow, where you could get a very heavy wet snow that falls heavy enough to where even if it's just above freezing, it's falling so quickly it's not able to melt efficiently. So we're going to have a lot of snow falling out of the sky tomorrow. If we were at 28 degrees all day, most folks here would be seeing a foot of snow, but that's not what's going to happen. So a lot of what's going to fall during the day tomorrow is going to melt. Tomorrow night is when we're going to start actually being able to pile this up a bit as temperatures cool off a degree or two. And again, if we're a degree or two colder than expected tomorrow, well, guess what? We're in for a fun afternoon and evening, that's for sure. As it stands, we're already going to probably have travel issues because of snow, slush, slick roads, and I mean, folks can't drive in wet weather anyway. I mean, who am I kidding? We can't drive in dry weather. So we do expect travel issues tomorrow, deteriorating Thursday afternoon, Thursday evening. But we may have some ice issues tomorrow morning. I mean, if we get a round of sleet and freezing rain and drizzle tomorrow morning, we're going to have problems. And these problems are probably going to vary over short distances. So, you know, again, like I said, the school's closing out here is probably for the best. You don't want to be out there if we suddenly get a round of sleet or freezing rain moving in during the morning rush hour. And then tomorrow afternoon, you know, maybe changing over to rain for a little while or mixing with snow and rain, and then it's going to snow. And then tomorrow night, it's going to snow pretty heavily for a while, it looks like. And that's when we're going to pile up these accumulations, with snow continuing into the morning hours on Friday before going. So that is it. Now, let's talk about our plans. We're going to do a live Q&A session, a live weather briefing here on YouTube, the Texas Weather Center YouTube, at 10 p.m. It'll be live in the Texas Storm Chasers website and the Texas Storm Chasers mobile app. 10 p.m. this evening, 2200 hours Central So tune in for that. We'll be doing it live, and then we'll be answering some of y'all's questions, hopefully, and we'll have the latest evening data coming in, so we'll be able to apprise you of any surprise changes. And there's always surprises. I mean, again, within 24 hours of an event, you bet your mama we're going to have surprises. That's what we do here in Texas. Winter weather forecasting is not easy here in the state because we're always dealing with borderline favorable conditions, in this case with temperatures. Big shock, right? So again, 1 or 2 degrees colder, guess what? Things are going to get really interesting. As it stands now, it's interesting. 1 or 2 degrees warmer, well, rain snow line may end up on the Red River, and a lot of y'all are going to be throwing angry birds at me, which is okay. I mean, I do need to go get the giant angry bird. So, all right, that's it. We'll have another update again live at 10 p.m. Texas Weather Center on YouTube, the Texas Storm Chasers website, and the Texas Storm Chasers mobile app. Just search for Texas Storm Chasers where you download apps for your device. We'll see you tonight at 10. Have a good afternoon and evening. God bless.